Hi, very good afternoon, friends. Welcome to the Funds Helpline channel. So today, yet another topic. Today's the topic of discussion is what should we ask the mutual fund manager whenever we are choosing a particular fund for the investment. So before investment, if you are an individual investor or if you are a mutual fund distributor, what are the questions basically we ask to the fund manager? So that will help us basically to understand about the future prospect of the fund. So what we should ask, what we should not ask, that will be discussed in detail in this video. So let's start. So first, generally everybody are investing into the market for the returns, and whenever there is a good return into the market or in a particular fund, we basically think that the fund manager is good, market is good, funds are giving the very good returns, so everything is fine. That is the general idea, and we always focus on the part of return. We don't see most of the cases whether I am investing based on the past return, this return is sustainable or not. These we don't focus on. We generally ask the fund manager, what is your expected return in next 1 year? What do you see the market in next 1 or 2 year? These are the basic question we ask the fund manager. We ask the fund manager about the different political outcomes, if there is an election going on, or if there is any big political event going on. We ask the fund manager, what is your view on this? In the current scenario, today's current scenario, there is a war going on in Ukraine. So we ask the fund manager basically, so what is your view, how long it can go away, and why it is impacting our market? We ask this kind of question. Basically this question is very relevant sometime, but the fund manager, do they have any view on the war outcome? Do they have any knowledge how long the war can go on? You need to think about it before asking the question. If the fund manager is not a political guy, do they have any deep understanding about the politics? Is it possible for them to guess the political outcome, election outcome? Is it their job? We sometimes also ask the fund manager, what is your view for next 1 or 2 year? Where do you see the market is going? Yes, fund manager is an expert. Definitely we can ask this question to the fund manager. But the important point is, they are not the horoscope reader. So they can have an understanding on the market in terms of economy or corporate profitability. But whether the Nifty or Sensex will go up or down, if you ask anybody, so he or she should have been very good horoscope reader, astrologer. So I don't believe that this is a fund manager's job to give you an astrological outcome. Where will be the Nifty or Sensex next 1 or 2 year or 3 years or after 6 months? So should we ask this kind of a question to the fund manager? Please think about it. Apart from that, where sometime we fund manager, we ask the fund manager, should I invest in this fund? So obviously, if you ask somebody, if you ask me, if I invest in your company, should I say no to you? let's think about it. If you asking the fund manager for investment on his company or in particular fund he is managing, should he told you that please do not invest in my fund? Just think about it, right? So then what should we ask the fund manager? If you are not asking or should not ask this kind of a question to the fund manager, the question is what should we ask? The fund manager is an expert, market expert, he is managing my fund, so there must be, I should have some understanding as a individual investor or distributor. I should have some understanding about the fund, then only can invest the fund. So what should I ask to the fund managers? The first thing, you should ask the fund manager about the investment process. Maybe this investment process, this is maybe the new theme for you or new word for you, but this is the real, this will give you basically the real picture about the fund's outcome. You should ask the investment process. You should ask the fund manager about the investment process. What is the fund philosophy? How the fund is choosing the universe, means the stock universe, where the fund is will put the money. What are the criteria basically for the selecting of those universe? How they are filtering out the stocks which they are not selecting, and why they are thinking that their model will definitely do well. You need to ask them what are the basic principles they are following when managing your fund, how they are designing the portfolio, why they are designing this portfolio in a particular concept, what are the, how many analysts are covering the different sector, what is the role of the analyst in a particular fund house, how they are analyzing the different sector, what is the stock selection process of the fund house, whether the fund manager is taking the decision of his own or there is a other part, co-fund manager and CIO of the companies and the analyst have a role for the selection of the stocks in the fund, how long they are generally hold a particular stock, what is their view on selection of stock and selling of stocks, do they churn the portfolio regular basis, or how much they a particular stock they hold. These are the basic questions that under the mutual fund in a process they should give you some idea whether this fund will do well in future, whether the fund manager is following a good process or not. And obviously whatever you need to also look at whether the fund manager, whatever they are saying into the process documents, whether they are following or not. Obviously you need to look into understand these things in detail. Now next question is basically after whether if the fund is performed well in the last few years, you need to understand or you need to ask the fund manager whether this past performance they will be able to replicate in future, and how they got this fund good performance. If the fund is doing very well, maybe if the fund is giving 5-10% greater than the index, so how they are generating this return, what kind of additional risk they are taking, You need to look at the fund's standard deviation, beta, Trenio ratio, Shortino ratio. Ask the fund manager whether they are being able to continue this kind of performance in future. Those stocks in a particular fund has performed well, whether the all stock of the funds has performed well, or there may be very few selective stock that has performed well. Because of that the fund return is good. You need to understand and ask to the fund manager. If only few stock has performed well and because of that this fund has done well, you need to ask the fund manager whether they think that these stocks will perform in future also, and fund manager will be able to generate the good alpha from here only. If not, what the fund manager are doing, what process they are following, or what additional things they are doing to keep the performance level at par. These basically the question you should ask to the fund manager. Also, if some fund is not doing well, you need to also ask the fund manager why your fund is not doing well, what is the problem with your fund. If the past track record is good but recent track record is bad, why so? If the fund manager is following a particular theme, if that theme is not working, or fund manager is overweight in a particular sector or particular concept, this concept is not working or it is taking time. So you need to understand that if any fund not performing for 3 to 6 months, so because of that you cannot switch from this fund to another fund. This is not the way for doing investment. You need to ask the fund manager the reason for non-performance, and if you find this reason relevant and there is a chances of fund to do well in future, then definitely you must stay on that fund. This is how it works. So you need to understand these things and need to understand these questions to the fund manager, whether you are an individual investor or you are a mutual fund distributor. Then you need to understand if the fund is following some cyclical strategy. You may see that the particular segment fund is doing very well, but what happens if you are investing in a cyclical strategy? When the cycle turns, the fund performance also tanks. So if any particular fund manager is doing in a particular cyclical strategy, he is investing, you should ask the fund manager whether they will be continuing this strategy or whatever do in future, or as per the market condition, if the cycle turns, what they will do to manage how they will manage the portfolio, whether they will churn or what the actions they will take to safeguard the portfolio. You need to ask to the fund manager. If the fund is underperforming some extent, you need to understand the fund from where the underperformance came from. If it is because of the fund manager faults, because of the fault of the fund management process, or is it basically just by luck? You may see there are some funds in a different market. In a market, there is a huge difference between the return of same category, both in the upside market and the downside market. You see, there are some funds which are basically taking the additional risk to generate the additional return. Some funds are choosing some cyclical bets, some funds are overweight on some of the sector, or some funds are investing aggressively in some sector or in a small cap kind of a category where they have generating additional return. So obviously, as an investor or as a mutual fund distributor, you need to understand whether this is a right approach, how long the fund manager will generate return through this process. Is it a sustainable? Is it a depend on fund size specific. If the fund size goes up, whether the fund manager will be able to replicate the past performance, you need to understand in detail. There are some funds which are basically taking the cash calls. You see that sometimes the fund performance is better in a particular category. If they have done in a down cycle, they have taken some cash call. If it is the reason for the fund and outperformance, you need to understand that, because no fund manager can go right every time. So maybe sometime he may taking the cash call. This means basically this is the approach of the fund house or fund manager or a particular scheme to go on cash or taking the cash call on regular basis depending on the market condition. But if sometime the fund may go correct, but sometime fund may go wrong also. So if the fund goes wrong, then there will be big underperformance from the fund. So you need to understand the performance, the outperformance is coming from the cash call, then whether it is really relevant performance that we are looking at. So these are the basically question you should be asking to the fund manager, rather than asking about the predictability of the market, predictability of the stock, election outcomes, war outcomes. So this is the thing I have just tried to communicate these things to you. So hope this will help you to get detail about the fund selection. What should you consider before investing in a particular fund, how you review the fund, what kind of question you should ask to your investor, to your distributor or fund managers. So thanks very much for watching. Hope this will help you to select your fund. And also, if you like this video, please share this video among your friends and families so that they also have some knowledge. So thank you very much for watching.